Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Vallabha Girivaradhari. Eric, you need a sheet. I thought that you need a sheet. Did we put all the sheets back? What happened to the sheets? You have one. Oh, here. You can follow along with the words. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Bad Paramahansa Padavajikacharya Ashtotar Shishimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavajikacharya Ashtotar Shishimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So, got the right one and everything. Are we on text 5? Marcy. That's, well, it was there, but there's also text 4 on the left-hand side. But I think we read that one. Yeah, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 19th day of August 2019 in SanDiego, a reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are on page 261. Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, text number 5. Everybody on the same page? Can you make sure she got the right page? Page 261. The page numbers are on the top of the page. 261. Yeah, you just take her book. Give her your book. No? Okay. She's got a will of her own. You ready? Okay. Udhareratmanatmanam natmanam abasarihet atmaeva yatmano bandhur atmaeva ripuratmanaha. Chapter 6, text 5. Udhareratmanatmanam natmanam abasarihet atmaeva yatmano bandhur atmaeva ripuratmanaha. Udhareratmanatmanam natmanam abasarihet atmaeva yatmano bandhur atmaeva ripuratmanaha. Jamal, go ahead. Udhareratmanatmanam natmanam abasarit atmaeva yatmano bandhur atmaeva ripuratmanaha. Udhareratmanatmanam natmanam abasariyet atmaeva yatmano bandhur atmaeva ripuratmanaha. Can you chant? Udhareratmanatmanam natmanam abasariyet atmaeva yatmano bandhur atmaeva ripuratmanaha. Anyone else can do it over there? No. Okay. I'll read the synonyms. You can just read along. Udharet, one must deliver. Atmana, by the mind. Atmanam, the conditioned soul. Na, never. Atmanam, the conditioned soul. Avasadiyate, put into degradation. Atma, mind. Eva, certainly he, indeed. Atmana, of the conditioned soul. Bandhuhu, friend. Atma, mind. Eva, certainly. Ripuhu, enemy. Atmanaha, of the conditioned soul. Translation. Krishna says to Arjuna, one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Purport. The word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul depending on different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of nescience. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature, and in this way the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point. That is, that one must do this. It is also said, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayoho bandhaya vishayasango muktyai nirvishayam manaha. For man, mind is the cause of bondage, and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from the sense objects is the cause of liberation. This is from the Amrita Bindu Upanishad 2. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is a very important verse, because it really gets down to the essence of yoga, any kind of yoga. We're really trying to reform the habits of the mind. Krishna explains very distinctly in the 15th chapter the mechanism for transmigration of the soul. The basic principle or basic goal of all Vedic philosophy and culture is to liberate the soul from the bonds of matter. It is very clear from all the Vedic literatures and even from our own experience to a large degree that we can experience in this one lifetime, that this is not a place where we can be happy all the time. There are so many dangers, there are so many miseries. Krishna summarizes in the 13th chapter, part of knowledge, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, dukkha, dosha, anudarshanam. Anudarshana means that if one wants to be wise and lead a progressive and productive life toward the ultimate goal of life, one has to see and be aware of these four things. And it's no point to try to just deny them or try to forget about them. If one's program of life is not to conquer over these four things of birth, death, old age, and disease, then you're leading the ostrich's life. You know, the ostrich, when there's some danger, he sees, oh, there's a lion running toward me. I can't get away. So what's the response? Does he chant Hare Krishna? No. He sticks his head into the sand. I've got another 30 seconds. Let me live it up. You know what I'm saying? So material life is like that. We're faced by time. And the runter was, time I am. Did you hear last night? He didn't quote exactly that. But Krishna is time. That he says in this 11th chapter. He also says in the 10th chapter, Mrityu sava haraschaham, that I am death and take away everything away from the materialists. The materialists, atheists, they deny the existence of God or the relevance of God. In other words, God is just a concept for those who need something to lean on because life is too difficult. But we're realists. We understand, you know, we're going to, on our own energy, we can push back material nature, we can control, you know, like the complete ignorance. So they don't recognize the supremacy of God, the laws of God, do's and don'ts. So dharma, they are adharmic, asuric, right? So Krishna says, for them, mrityu sarva haraschaham, I take everything away. As death, I take everything away. So everybody wants to see God. So you see God in the way that you're eligible to see. If you deny his existence during your life, then you'll see him at the time of death. You have to surrender. You have to surrender everything. You're forced to surrender. But you're not surrendering out of love. You're surrendering out of desperation and just the fact you're like a bound prisoner. You must surrender. So the whole idea in Krishna consciousness is to understand, first of all, how we got in this difficult situation, that we're in a difficult situation, and understand from higher sources of knowledge, such as the Bhagavad Gita and those who live the Bhagavad Gita and teach the Bhagavad Gita, what's the method of extracting or extricating ourselves from this difficulty. The fact is, when we can extricate ourselves, we need the help of the Supreme. What does Krishna say in the 7th chapter, text 14? Daivi yesha gunamahi. You know this one? Sort of. Daivi yesha gunamahi mama maya doratyaya mamaviye papadyante maya metang tarantite. Taranti means to cross over. So we're in this ocean of material life, fraught with so many dangers. We're in a difficult, untenable situation. We want to cross over this ocean, means to the other farther shore, beyond the dangers of this world, Shangri-La, Vaikunta, a place where there's no anxiety. There's anxiety when you're in the middle of an ocean. We're in an ocean. Or you can choose the other analogy, forest fire. Pick your poison. So we need help. So Krishna says, Daivi Yesha Gunamayi, Mama Maya, it's my Maya, composed of these three modes of nature. You cannot cross over it or conquer over it on your own. Daivi Gunamayi, composed of the modes of nature. Mama Maya Duratyaya. He says it's difficult to cross over. Practically, factually, it's impossible. Very difficult, super difficult. But, this is such a key verse. If you surrender to me, those who surrender to me can easily cross beyond it. Why is that? Because Maya is Krishna's servant. Prabhupada often gives the analogy of a king, a president, a head executive pardoning someone in a jail. You know the meaning of the word Durga, Eric?
Durga was a goddess that similar to Kali or anything?
You're more or less in the right range. Durga is not similar to Kali. She is Kali. Oh, okay. She is Krishna's material energy personified, wife of Shiva. Now the meaning of the word Durga means you can't go. Ga means go, and Dur means very difficult or impossible. In other words, you're in a prison house. That's what it's a prison house. So, but we know the president who can tell the warden of the prison to let this one go. That's Krishna. So if we get the favor of the Lord by surrendering to him and agreeing to act according to his instructions or his representative's instructions, then Maya will progressively release her grip on us. And you know how we can tell that we're getting free? We're losing our attraction for her wiles, for her temptations. This is how Maya keeps us attracted. Maya means a trickster. She's presenting an illusion to us. And you know how attractive these illusions can be, right? In other words, they resemble reality. They resemble, what could be more enticing? You know, I read this article about the sugar industry. You know, we kind of take it for granted. You walk into the supermarket and there's a heavenly planet full of all kinds of snacks. You know, you walk down one aisle and it's like everything you always dreamed about. You got the Doritos over here, you got the yin on this side, the yang on that side, and you know the sugar is in everything. But sugar is a refined product, when of course it can be used in Krishna's service in moderation, but it's almost like a drug, and it's a harmful drug. It's a perfect analogy, you know, or example of the problem with the material energy. You find something that's pleasurable, and you say, well, why not have more and more and more of it? Just like a child. Why just one? I like to tell this story. You've heard my classes so many times. How I became addicted, you know, like I really liked little chocolate kisses. They had these little solid chocolate, you know. And every time there'd be so many kids and so many birthdays, and we'd go to the birthday party, and there's the chocolate kisses, you know, and chocolate candy, and of course chocolate milk. So I became a chocolate addict, you know. But, you know, I'm running around and burning it up, so I didn't really do much harm when I was a kid. But the point is that material energy is like that. It drags you one side, this side, that side. The tongue is dragging, the eye is dragging this way, and the ears, and there's just an endless variety of things to try to enjoy. But you soon learn, every mother knows, you know, if the child takes too many cookies, then you can get sick, right? And you have to teach the child, no, it's not good for you. You have to control the senses, you know, but that's not so easy. So this is how Maya keeps us trapped. Through a series of allurements. It may change as we grow older, different variety, and concomitant sufferings, which you then have to try to relieve by another means. That's why we have a multi-trillion-dollar medical industry all over the world. There's always medical. You get sick, then you try to get better. Then you know the pill you take for this disease makes you sick. You have another one. And you're completely on the bodily platform, and you're going from one pleasure to a suffering here, and before you long, you know, you get too old, you can't really enjoy it. It's just a question of trying to not suffer too much. And this is material life. Then you leave this body, which is no longer viable, basically, but you don't die. There's no death. Vijayate mrite vakadachat. Death is a big illusion. It's just forgetting. That's in the Bhagavatam. Basically, you forget the previous life, and you start thinking of a new body, and you come out and you build the mind is still there, the same mind, but you forget all the last stuff. But there's still traces of it, and it's still karma, and the whole thing is from one body to another. And so this is what we've been doing for millions and millions of births. Now, the rare human form of life is a chance where we can use our superior intelligence, which is the real distinguishing factor of human beings, to understand a philosophy and understand a means by which we can actually leave this body and not come back. I just listened to Prabhupada. He quoted this verse almost more than any other. There's a nice little document containing all the verses he would most often quote from Shastra. And this is up there, number 3 or 4. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha chaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sojana. Prabhupada loved to quote this verse. This is in the 4th chapter, text number 9, I believe. So what does it say? Krishna there is, and it's very appropriate because we're preparing for Janmashtami. So thinking about Krishna's appearance and the wonders and blessings that we have just 5,000 years ago is practically yesterday compared to, some people have to wait a lifetime of Brahma. So we've hit the lottery. We're practically contemporaries of Lord Chaitanya. 500 years ago, that's nothing. And 5,000 years ago, when you think about, how long Brahma lives, Bhakti Eric? Can you guess, even in the ballpark?
4.2 million years.
Are you kidding? That's not even a lunchtime for him. 311 trillion, 40 billion years. Now that 40 billion is like a rounding error, when you're in 300
That's 100 years, right?
of his time. Yeah, it seems like 100 years to him. But just see. But here's the point, that Krishna appears in every universe. There's many Brahmas and many universes. So he's always appearing. In fact, today was Janmashtami in some universe. And in fact, every day there's Janmashtami, Krishna's taking birth. But in any given universe, especially our universe, which is the smallest one, we have a Brahma with only 4 heads, and he lives only 311 trillion years. Krishna appears once in every day. Now, if you're living on 311 trillion years, and then that's 100 years of his time, then you have to break it down, and it comes to like once every 8-point-something billion years, Krishna will appear on this planet, in this universe, in this planet. So, it's just, now, compare that to only 5,000 years ago. Now you can see the perspective. 5,000 is practically like yesterday. The point is, we are very fortunate. Not only does Krishna appear once in a day of Brahma, but so does Lord Chaitanya. And he's given us this process by which we can, back to the mind, extricate our mind from the entanglement of this material world. The mind is going here and there, just like a bee, looking, where's the pleasure? Where can I find the pleasure? How can I avoid the pain? Pleasure. Sankalpa vikalpa, sankalpa vikalpa. All the time. There's a song that Rupa Goswami wrote. He prays to Krishna to please you to control my mind. I can't control it. This is like, you at least take the bee of my mind and put it in the honey of your lotus feet. And in wonderful Sanskrit, Krishna bhavandam vande, manmanasa madhukadama payanita patapankatamakadande. Madhukara means a bee that makes honey. Madhu is honey. Manmanasa madhukadama. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you, and then entreat. You know what entreat means? It means to ardently pray for. Entreat, learn a new word. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you, and then entreat. Please place the bee of my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. That's the refrain of the song. And then he goes, he's comparing, and he's saying, though even Brahma, deep in trance, cannot achieve his goal, a glimpse of your effulgent toenails soothing to the soul, because, O Lord, I've heard of your compassion's endless waves. That very vision is the only boon my poor heart craves. So he's saying that, who am I? Even Brahma can't achieve his place at your lotus feet. But because I've heard of how compassionate you are, I'm just shooting. I'm going to shoot for the lottery, $1 million ticket for the lottery, and pray that you reveal your lotus feet to me. Place my mind in the lotus feet. Then he says, Bhakti-do-danchadi yadyapimadavanattvaya mamatilamatri padameshwadata tadapitabad durganakatantapadatri. O Madhava, despite great effort, I have not attained a glimpse of pure devotion. This has brought me endless pain. Yet though it seems impossible to ever fill this need, your monumental power gives me hope I shall succeed. The whole idea is that we should feel ourselves really helpless in this material world. That's what it means to be as humble as a blade of grass, you know. So we have no power, just like you read the Krishna book of Krishna's Leela, how periodically these dangers come to the residents of Vrindavan. This whole yatra is named after Govardhan Leela. So everything's going along nicely. They just celebrated the Govardhan Puja with Krishna. They had a wonderful festival, circumambulating the hill. Krishna appears as the hill. They feed the hill, you know, mountains of grain, and everybody's just blissful. But then what happens? Then Indra, he gets mad because his sacrifice was stopped. Indra is not. It's not an accident that he's named Indra, and that the problems we have controlling is the Indriyas. You see, Indriyas are the senses. So he always loses his sense, and he says they just listen. He doesn't understand that Krishna is God. They listen to this over talkative young boy, and they stop my sacrifice, which they have every year. Why do they think? They think the rain is going to come automatically? I'll show them. And so he calls these Samvartika clouds, which are only meant to be relieved at the time of devastation, and they go to Vrindavan and they start pouring down columns of rain, huge hailstones, and wind. Oh. And so the residents of Vrindavan, the cows, everyone is distressed. So what do? Do they call FEMA? Good guess. No, left hand. You got to get it. Yeah. So, yes, right. So you got it right. Thank you, Eric. So, right. So they're helpless. In other words, this is pure devotion. In any situation where there's great danger, they don't make plans or how can we, arrange things to help ourselves. They just call out to Krishna. The fire comes and the flood comes. There was 2 fires actually, and they just call out to Krishna, 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 save us, and they're saved. So this is the advantage of understanding who Krishna really is, and being in the Kali Yuga, when we're so disqualified. We're so, Kali Doshana De Rajan. This Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Everywhere you look, there's danger here. The bombs can fall, climate change, we live near the sea is getting radioactive, Fukushima. Where is there any safety? Only in the beads. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. So here he's saying, I've tried to get devotion to you, but despite great effort, O Madhava, I have not attained a drop of pure devotion. This has brought me endless pain. Yet though it seems impossible to ever fill this need, your monumental power gives me hope I shall succeed. This is the mood of Rupa Goswami. He's teaching us how to pray. So then the last verse, success. Ayam avalolatayaja sanatana kaladadbhuta rasabharam nimisati nitya mahamati ninda nibindan madhudimasaram. Today, O Lord, my mind is fixed upon your lotus feet, and so I'm tasting endless mellows, wonderful and sweet. I pray that for eternity my mind may there reside, to relish luscious honey that defeats ambrosia's pride. Something like that. So this is a little path that he's showing, is that you feel yourself bereft, and you don't try to scale the mountain, achieve Krishna on your own. You just try to perfect your praying. This Hare Krishna is praying. There's a wonderful prayer by Queen Kunti, which, I'm an editor. You know that? I've been editing Prabhupada's book for 40 years. And there's one famous prayer, Janmaishwarya Shuta Shribir Edamanamadak. You recognize a little bit? Janmaishwarya Shuta Shribir Edamanamadak Naiva Hattipadhadam Dvaitfama Kinchana Gochana. This Akinchana Gochana is a famous phrase. It means, oh Krishna, you're actually the property of those who are propertyless. Now this doesn't mean that you can't have any money. It means that you feel, I may have some money, but it's Krishna's. Let me use it as you don't feel this proprietorship, this self-aggrandizing, So she says, Janmaishwarya Shuta Shibir. These 4 are the standard measures of opulence. Good birth, which is unknown in America, but that's an important thing, to be born in a good family. Very important. Aishwarya means, of course, wealth, but it also means controlling power. The root of this word Aishwarya is Ishvara. And because when you're very rich, you have a lot of controlling power. Money is actually an energy. It's an energy of Krishna. So, Janma Aishwarya, Shuta, great learning, and of course, Shribir, physical beauty. These are the 4 standard opulences. So, what she's saying here is that if you want to, this verse is all about chanting with quality, with feeling. If one is progressively more intoxicated by these 4 things, very proud of his good birth, of his wealth, and beauty, which of course is a fleeting thing. That's why they have all of these creams and Botox and all this kind of stuff, and to try to preserve that glow of youth and beauty. It's hopeless. But still, that's a great opulence. People covet it tremendously. Multi-billion-dollar cosmetics industry. So, what to speak of, colleges now. That's another $1 trillion debt. These poor students, they go to college, and they end up with the degree and a great debt and no job. They can get a job, but not a job that's suitable to them. This is happening all over. Anyway, but still, they're great opulences. And if you are progressively intoxicated, then they do not qualify for calling out to you with deep feeling. This word abhidatum means chanting to Krishna's name in helplessness, really feeling oneself. Trinad api sunichena. What does that mean, Suresh? You should know that, right? No, nothing. I'm sorry, Trinad api sunichena. What is trinad? What is a trinad? Trina.
That's tree, right?
No. It's a little blade of grass. This is the first part of the blade. Sunichena. Nicha means down, and su means very much down. Feeling yourself as fallen, as neglected, as insignificant as a blade of grass in the street. It's not an easy thing to feel like that. But that's the qualification for always calling out to Krishna with great desperation. That's what the idea is. And being more tolerant than a tree. Prabhupada would always say, Trinad api sunichena, toror api sahishnuna. Not Eva, because Eva actually doesn't even work grammatically. And there is a whole mix-up I can explain sometime later. It's an editing thing. But it's important. Api means more tolerant than a tree, which is practically inconceivable. So, and then amanina, not wanting any praise for oneself, manadena, willing to give praise to others. You think about it, how hard that is, how rare any of these qualities are, even approaching them. But that's the qualification for chanting constantly, meaning that you feel yourself very unqualified, greatly in danger, that your mind at any time can be taken away, and so please help me, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's why you find that renunciation and detachment is such an important part of Krishna consciousness. Because what keeps us bound here? Developing these attachments, taking shelter of the money and the insurance and the this and that and whatever. These are fallible soldiers. It's spoken right at the beginning of second canto. There's no hope. So when just look at the 6 Goswamis. Tyaktva turna mashesha mandada patishening sada tuchavat. Very important instruction. These 3 of them were like billionaires, multi-millionaires. Rupa, Sanatan, and Raghunath Das Goswami. Before they joined Lord Chaitanya, Rupa and Sanatan were right and left hand of the king. They had so much influence, they had so much wealth. Rupa Goswami ended up with a whole boatload of gold. What is gold now? It's over $1,000 an ounce. You got to think of what a boatload is. Billions. He was giving it away. He gave half of it to the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas, a quarter of it to his relatives, and a quarter of it he kept for emergencies, which came in handy when Sanatan needed to get out of jail. But the point is, he became detached to it. Imagine giving that up. And so he went to Vrindavan, and Sanatan was able to get free by bribing the jailer and also get free. And they became most renounced. This says, Turnam quickly gave it up as most insignificant. Tuchavat. Just imagine how, enthralled they were, Lord, and how determined. And Raghunath Das also, he was like the only son of like multi-millionaire landowners, zamindars, right? His father is Govardhan Majumdar, his uncle is Haranya Majumdar. Haranya means gold, So, but then when he became mad, after Lord Chaitanya and love of God, got the mercy of Lord Nityananda, did the chipped rice and yogurt festival, sponsored the whole thing, and was able to sneak out and from home. They were having guards around him because they had a beautiful wife, all the money he could need, but he wasn't interested. His mother was distraught. Too bad. He cheated his initiating guru. He lied to his initiating guru, Yadunandana Acharya. And anyway, then he ran off to Jagannath Puri, and he became the ideal from the most wealthy. He was more even wealthy than to the most renounced. He was the ideal of renunciation. He wouldn't even beg food from the Brahmins who were going here and there. He just took some rejected the rice that the cows wouldn't even eat. He would get that, collect it, wash it off, and eat that. That was the renunciation. But what was he experiencing in his bhajan? He was being trained by Swarup Damodar Goswami. To do, Lord Chaitanya, loved him so much, he gave him his precious Govardhan Shila that he got from his trip to Vrindavan, and his Gunja necklace, these Gunja berries that Krishna wears. So he had both of those. He was worshipping them, and it says the ecstasy he was feeling is in him unimaginable from doing that, giving up everything. So, back to the mind. The mind is the friend and the mind is the enemy. What is the enemy? It's described here in the purport. The mind is the cause of bondage and liberation. That mind, which is Vishya Sango, it means attached to the objects of the senses, is bandhaya, is binding us to us. That's the bondage. It's in the mind, it's in the heart. But mukyai nirvishayam manad. Nirvishaya means when the mind is detached from the objects of the senses, it's a source and a cause of your liberation. So the whole thing is in the mind. Now, the whole point of this Dhyana Yoga chapter is directly to confront the mind. In order to do it right, you got to go off alone, sit in a certain place, on a certain seat, and practice pranayama, drill the respiration, and wrestle with that mind. And it's a valid process. You have to sit in a certain way and everything. It's a valid process, but as Arjuna explains, he says, he appeals that I can't do it. Chantalam himana Krishna. This mind is like a raging wind. I can't control the mind. And Krishna says, yes, you can, if you practice his principles like that. So Arjuna says, well, what if I fail? He says, won't I've lost everything? No. In the next birth, you'll get born in a yogi family or a wealthy family, but pious, so that you won't have to worry about your maintenance. So the basic idea is that even Arjuna, what to speak of us, are unqualified to practice this strict yoga process. It's not for the masses. It's for a very, very few, and even then, it may take lifetimes to achieve the goal. So what about us? Because Krishna says in this chapter, you have to be a yogi. If you're not a yogi, you're a bogi. Bogi means an enjoyer. And that means suffering. So what kind of yogi can we be? Bhakti yogi. The bhakti yoga is specifically, especially as Lord Chaitanya taught it, is very suitable for this age. And it's not that you go alone. There are points where you should be alone chanting, but best in a big crowd. The bigger the crowd, the better for the kirtan, And that everybody chants together. You can't but think of Krishna. You have to be absorbed in thinking of Krishna, greatly purifying. That's why the kirtan yoga, the bhakti yoga, centering on Sankirtan, is the dharma of the age. It's called the Yuga Dharma. And the Yuga Dharma, the Yuga Avatar, teaching that Yuga Dharma is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we're very fortunate, but we should always remember that the principles here outlined in this 6th chapter are included within bhakti. The fixing of the mind on Krishna, yes, through sound vibration, but it's meant to be ultimately as absorbing and as in samadhi, that could be talking about, and the
wonderful description in the text 20 to 24, is it, or 23? 20 to 23, which is samadhi, and he's describing here sukham atyantikam yatad buddhigrayam atindriyam. One achieves happiness, transcendental happiness, that is transcendental to the senses. And Prabhupada would love this one. Yam lodva chapalam laba manyate nadikam tada. Having attained this pure Krishna consciousness, the bliss of Krishna consciousness, one thinks there's no greater anything else to be attained. In other words, this cessation of misery, of dukkha, and the expansion of the ocean of sukha is there in Bhakti Yoga, and it's practical, that we can actually achieve it. So we should, the very good instruction in this chapter about controlling the mind, withdrawing it from the sense objects, and moderation and so forth, but ultimately it culminates in the last verse. Yogi nama visarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavam bhajate yomam samayuktatamamadaha. The point of shraddha, where you place your heart, what you have faith in, that's especially suitable for bhakti yogi. And he says there, the best yogi of all is one who's always worshipping in the heart with great and transcendental faith. He's very dear to me, and he's the best yogi. So therefore, bhakti yoga is the best yoga, and it's practical for us, and we can achieve the goal of withdrawing the mind from the entanglement in the sense objects and placing it on the transcendence, namely Krishna, most practically through bhakti yoga, centered on Sankirtan. Any discussion on these points? Buddhare Atmanatmanam. As I always say, don't waste your precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for hoggish happiness. Through bhakti yoga, worldly life transcend and learn to taste divine love's endless bliss. It's real. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. Okay? Where are we? Hare Krishna. We are at 8 o'clock. Perfect timing. So let us read a little bit from the second verse of the Upadeshamrita. So the first verse really taught us how to choose a guru, one who is able to control the 6 urges completely. And now, some practical instructions about what to avoid. Okay. All right. So since we don't have a verse written on the board, I'll just say 1 or 2 words at a time, just like in a Pushpanjali, so we can all chant. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from the Sri Upadeshamrita, the Essence of All Advice, by Srila Rupa Goswami, translation accompanied by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Atyahara Priyashascha Prajalpo Niyamagraha Janasangash Chalaulyamcha Shadbir Bhaktir Vinashiti, which sounds like this. You don't have to try to repeat. Atyahara priyasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangash chalaulyamcha shadbir bhakti pranashyati. I'm sorry, shadbir bhakti vinashyati. I thought it was vinashyati. Shadbir means 6. So these are 6 things. Now, because 2 of them have 2 meanings, it actually expands to 8. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. So that's like a 2-part aspect of number 1. 2, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4, and this one is also a twofold thing, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5, associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6, being greedy for mundane achievements. So Prabhupada will discuss these systematically. Human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. This is one of his slogans. Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, material energy, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has three primary energies, or potencies. The first is called the Antaranga Shakti, or the internal potency. The second is called the Tatashta Shakti, or the marginal potency. And the third is called the Bahiranga Shakti, or the external potency. The living entities constitute the marginal potency, and they are situated between the internal and external potencies. Being subordinate as eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Jivatmas, or atomic living entities, must remain under the control of either the internal or the external potency. When they are under the control of the internal potency, they display their natural constitutional activity, namely, constant engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. This is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9:13. Mahatmanas tamam parta daivim prakatimashrataha pajanchananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Prita, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. That's the Daivi Prakriti. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. The word Mahatma refers to those who are broad-minded, not cripple-minded. Cripple-minded persons, always engaged in satisfying their senses, sometimes expand their activities in order to do good for others through some ism like nationalism, humanitarianism, or altruism. They may reject personal sense gratification for the sense gratification of others, like the members of their family, community, or society, either national or international. Actually, all these activities are extended sense gratification from personal to communal to social. These activities may all be very good from the material point of view, but they have no spiritual value. The basis of such activities is sense gratification, either personal or extended. Only when the person gratifies the senses of the Supreme Lord can he be called a Mahatma, or a broad-minded person. In the above quoted verse from the Bhagavad Gita, the words Daivim Prakritim refer to the control of the internal potency or pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord. This pleasure potency is manifested. Who is the personified Ladini Shakti? Her birthday. Very good. Good guess. Yes. Srimati Radharani. This pleasure potency is manifested as Srimati Radharani, or her expansion, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. When the individual jiva souls are under the control of the internal energy, their only engagement is the satisfaction of Krishna, or Vishnu. This is the position of a Mahatma. If one is not a Mahatma, he is a Duratma, or a cripple-minded person. Such mentally crippled Duratmas are put under the control of the Lord's external potency, Mahamaya. Okay, so we'll pick that up tomorrow. But we have a few moments to explore this verse and purport. So, these are, we learn that there are these six principles of surrender that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given us, called Sharanagati. They named a nice farm community after it up in Canada. Sharanagati means the process of surrender. So there's six aspects. The first two are Anukulyena Sankalpa Pratikulyasya Varjanam. Anukulyena Sankalpa means to accept those things which are favorable for devotional service. And Pratikulyasya Varjanam means to give up those things which are unfavorable. Now this principle can be applied to any discipline. If you want to become a good violin player, well, first thing you got to do, you find a teacher. Otherwise, you try on your own, it won't work. So what is the teacher going to teach you? From experience, from what he learned, he or she, they'll say, do it this way, don't do it that way. Hold your hand this way. I don't know if you ever, I learned an instrument, not a violin, but the clarinet. How to hold the embouchure, how to form this, it's the whole thing. And so you're accepting what's favorable. The first thing that's favorable is to accept the teacher. The first thing that's favorable in spiritual life is to accept a guru, a teacher, someone who knows more than you. It's a very mysterious thing. It's complete mystery. So we need access to that transcendental knowledge from the spiritual master and from the books, which are they're both Krishna, coming as the spiritual master, speaking through channeling. We channel, and of course the books. The Super Soul is speaking to us through a book like Bhagavad Gita. So there's certain favorable things. Everywhere you find it's renunciation. Don't let your mind get wrapped up in the senses, enjoying sense gratification. That's what this is all about, we just read. Because that mind of yours is your worst enemy right now. But we have our friend is the super soul and Krishna. So what we need is to strengthen our intelligence, which is above the mind, so that we can tell the mind, no, don't do this, go there, do this, do that, go there. And the mind will change according to the association. If you listen to a certain kind of music, then you'll get into a certain mode, and it can be really ignorant, mode of ignorance, right? But if you listen to other music, even mundane music, it will raise you up to a different mode of goodness. What to speak of kirtan. So the whole idea is that, no, I'm not going to that rock concert, I'm going to the temple. I don't care if that same guy is still singing that same tune on Hare Krishna, I'm still going to. You know what I'm saying? In other words, the mind has so many reasons why you don't surrender. That's why we're in Maya. But you say, "Mom, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not listening to you anymore." I know that this is good for me, and I'm going. Just like a mother has to drag the kid to the first day of school. Where is that kid who was spontaneously attracted? Maybe you were. You're such a very intelligent girl. Did you like to go to school the first day? See? Well, you're exceptional. That means in a previous life you hadn't. But the point is, for the most part, I didn't. And my mother had to drag me to school because she knew that is best. I have to get socialized. I have to learn the ABCs, like that. She knows. She's a superior intelligence. That's what education means. And after a while, you like it. And the mind gets accustomed. So that's the idea, is that which is an austerity at first becomes a delight when you're accustomed to it, because it's a natural thing. The chanting of Hare Krishna, which is a duty, I got time to chant my rounds, okay, let me chant, becomes, you don't want to stop. Because the holy name is Krishna, and you really have an attraction, you become purified. So the whole idea is accepting what's favorable and rejecting what's unfavorable. And that's the beginning of the atyahara priyasascha. Is not, not eating too much, that's not going to be good. Don't collect too much, you get attracted to what you collect, priyasas, endeavoring for some mundane thing, the mind gets absorbed in that, It's a very, very practical. This whole Upadeshamrita is extremely practical for aspiring bhaktas. So on that note, we have to adjourn, and we'll have our kirtan in a few minutes. Thank you for listening to my